Today I asked the president if COVID was still a national emergency, and he said it's a necessity to deal with to make sure it doesn't become one. His answer would suggest that perhaps it's not a national emergency right now. So is it fair to call it a national emergency under the HEROES Act to justify student loan cancellation?
So the student loan cancellation, first and foremost, that was decided by the appropriate agencies. That was the tool that we were going to use to make sure that we give relief to Americans that need it. We should step back for a second and understand why the president took that action when it comes to the student loan. When he came into the office, clearly there were Americans who were having a hard time dealing with the economic situation that the pandemic was causing, right? And we had the former administration who mishandled the COVID, the reaction to COVID, how we would move forward out of COVID. The last administration bungled that, really. And so the president took action and made sure that people were getting shots in arms, and we were moving to a place where things could open, schools could open, businesses could open. And so at the same time, as the president is thinking through how getting out of this phase, that phase of the pandemic, there's the student loans. There are people who are really squeezed by the pandemic, and so he wanted to make sure that when we lift up the pause, that we gave people a little bit more breathing room, and that is where the student debt relief comes from. And we understand once that pause is lifted, there's still going to be people who are going to have a difficult time. And so just because we're in a different phase of the pandemic, as the president has said, COVID is still a problem. And so that's how we came to that decision to move forward with our assessment on how we're going to provide that student relief to middle-class Americans. And also, let's not forget, 90% of borrowers who are going to be receiving this debt relief are making less than $75,000 a year. And so all of that matters when you're lifting up something and when you're lifting up a pause that has been lifted for about 3 years, knowing that the pandemic has been a problem, knowing that COVID is continuing to be a problem, knowing what the American people, middle-class families have had to go through, the president was trying to making sure that he didn't leave anyone behind and making sure that he didn't forget those middle-class families.
I hear what you're saying on all that. I guess my question is there another, perhaps a better mechanism to do that? Because the whole program is caught up now in litigation, and a lot of this legal argument is that it can't be a national emergency because of actions that the administration has taken elsewhere. So I wonder...
So I actually disagree with you. What is happening is there are opponents out there of the student loan debt relief who do not want to give middle-class family a little bit more breathing room. There are opponents out there, many of them are Republicans, who do not want us to make sure that those 90% of Americans who are making $75,000 or less are getting that actual benefit to be able to put money down on a house, to be able to start a family. They are upset that we are trying to help those very, very Americans. So that is what is happening. This is pure politics that we're seeing out there. It is not, and the way the president sees this is not partisan.
On the national emergency front then, what is the criteria the country would have to meet for it not to be a national emergency, or is that even a goal?
So here's the thing. We cannot forget that COVID is still a problem. We just had Dr. Jacques here talking to all of you. He wanted to be here, and we wanted him to be to all of you because you guys communicate with the American people. And we want the American people to know that there is a new vaccine out there, and they need to get that shot in the arm because that new vaccine is going to help them ahead of the winter months. So clearly, COVID is still a problem. We're trying to communicate very clearly with the American people how important it is to continue to get that vaccine. So you have the COVID response director here. You have the president who, in front of the American people, took his shot to send a message. So again, we are still dealing with COVID. We're trying to do everything that we can to make sure that it continues to not be a disruptor, right? And the reason that it's not a disruptor is because of the work that this president has done in the last 20 months. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to our channel so you'll be sure to see similar videos from Blaze TV with the added bonus of signaling YouTube that your voice and opinion still matters. And if you're looking for more great conservative content, check out one of the 2 videos suggested here. And let's go.